Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we answer the question, what gives me the best chance of becoming a millionaire? For most of your retirement plans and your generational wealth plans, it requires you to have $1 million. In fact, the number is around $1.7 million is what the average expectation is for someone to need to have a retirement based on the average income that you would expect. I will have another video and I'll put a link where we go over what it takes to have $100,000 in a variety of income streams. But I still get this question often where we'll put a plan together and people ask me, well, Dre, what is the chance of me becoming a millionaire? And that really comes down to how many things do millionaires do that we do? And in this video, we'll answer that question. It's actually one of my favorite questions. If you watch any of them, you know I love talking about what gives me the best chance of getting the result I want. I'm not someone who's big on guaranteeing a result, but I am someone who's big on increasing my chances. If I can have a 55% chance, a 60, 70, 80, 90% chance of becoming a millionaire, Dre, what would I have to do? Now, to drive home the point, how important just having a 51 or 52% chance of becoming a millionaire is, while I'm going to give you information that increases that number exponentially, when you go to Vegas, they really only give themselves a very small tilt in the favor of the casino. The casino is going to have a 51, 55%. That's really on the high end chance of winning. And you'll find that if I have a 5% advantage over the long term, you'll run out of money. That's why casinos win. The casinos have us feel like it's a 50-50, but the truth is it's not. And because the casino has that small advantage, if they can keep us there over the long term, we're going to lose over the long term because that 5% matters. If you are always losing 6 out of 10 times, then eventually you'll run out of all of your money. That's just the way the math works. The same is true for becoming a millionaire. If you can give yourself the opportunity to win 6 out of 10 times over the long term, and I'll give you some numbers that prove that, you're going to win. So let's go and see what these millionaires have in common. First and foremost, you're saying, hey, Dre, look, how many millionaires are there even in the United States of America? That is also an excellent question. 8.8% of adults in the United States are millionaires. Now, if you don't live in the US, I do have the numbers and I'll give those to you as well if you keep on listening. But we're really going to talk about this from 5 categories, which I think will paint a really good picture for you. We're going to talk about from age, gender, industry, location, trends, and projections. With that information, you should be able to increase the likelihood of you becoming a millionaire to where you tilt the odds in your favor. Because as you know, 70% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. 60% of people are retiring broke every single day. So the odds are stacked against you. Over the long term, you will lose. Even though you may feel like you have moments of winning over the 20, 30, 40, 50 years that you're working, if you play the game the way the casino and the system has designed it, then you're going to lose over the long term, which happens to the majority of people. But I will show you what the majority of people winning have in common. So there are 22 million millionaires in the United States. Again, that's about 9% of our population. So that means about 1 out of every 10 people that you meet is a low-key millionaire. And they just may not be telling you. So let's break down the millionaire numbers by race and ethnicity. 77% of millionaires in the United States of America are white. So it means that they're overrepresented. So it's a very fancy way of saying that if they're 60% of the population, you would expect to see the numbers shape out to where 60% of millionaires are also white. But because 77% of them are white, that means that they are overrepresented. When you look at blacks and 14% of the population represents blacks, the fact that 8% of millionaires are black means that they are underrepresented, right? If they wanted to match the population, then about 14% of millionaires would be that. And then when you look at Asians, about 6% of the population represents Asian Americans, and 8% of them as millionaires means that they are overrepresented. And Hispanics make up about 19 going on 20% of the population. And for them to represent 7% of millionaires means that they're underperforming as well. Now, we could spend the rest of the video talking about race, but I really wanted to get to the other numbers so that you have a complete picture. So we'll keep going so that you're able to really put the pieces together, see what trends and how you can increase the likelihood of you becoming a millionaire. What indicator of millionaires is their education? So when it comes to education, 88% of millionaires graduated from college. So the numbers would say 1/3 of the population has a college degree. Later on in this video, I'll talk about the type of professions that are common for millionaires that will also help shed light on this. When you look into the numbers further, 62% of millionaires said that they graduated from a public or a state school, and just 8% said they went to a prestigious private school. 52% of surveyed millionaires said that they have a master's degree or higher, And that far outpaces the 12% of the population that has above a bachelor's degree. So again, that means we're outperforming. Another great sign that this is what millionaires have in common. Millionaires, 90% of them, 9 out of 10 millionaires have a bachelor's degree at least. And then you find that half of millionaires have a bachelor's degree, while only a third of the population has a bachelor's degree, and only a tenth of the population has a master's degree. So you can see the importance of education. When I read for you the top 5 industries of millionaires, I want you to ask yourself, is it something that you're interested in? Is it something that you can get in? Is it something that you can encourage your children to get in? Because they show an affinity or a passion for one of these industries. The top 5 industries for producing millionaires is number 1, finance and investments. Number 2 is technology. Number 3 is manufacturing. Number 4 is fashion and retail. And number 5 is healthcare. Now that I've given you the top 5 industries, which ones require a college degree of some kind? Which ones do you have to have a college background to be able to get into those industries? As someone in finance and investments, more times than not, you will have some sort of a college degree. Most of the time, they want it to be in some sort of a math, minor economics, and that was really good. Business, finance, they work with you on those. You really oftentimes are only going to get through the door with some sort of a college degree. I know people in the finance industry with degrees in like history, but they were able to get an interview because they had a college degree. Some of these applications, they'll ask you, do you have a college degree? And if you say no, they won't even go to the recruiter's desk in some of these industries. So finance and investments is one of those. Not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm simply saying that's the way the system is currently set up. Technology. Now, technology gives you the ability where you can just specialize in coding, where you can learn certain aspects, maybe just get a certification that doesn't require a college degree, and you can get your foot in the door. But oftentimes, you know that like Google and a lot of these large companies, they're recruiting at some of these Ivy League schools, and they often do look for people to have a college degree. Manufacturing, right? Very fancy. We're going to be providing a certain number of products to a large number of people, and then we make money off of each of those sales. That is where you would be looking at. If you're going to be an engineer working in that, then you can make the money from the employment aspect of it. But if you're not an engineer, which would require a college degree, then you're most likely going to have a position that doesn't get paid quite the same. Then if you go into fashion or retail, kind of the same deal. Unless people go to very fancy art schools where they're able to hone their craft to build certain relationships, and then that allows them to catapult into the industry. Healthcare, kind of the same vibe. More times than not, you have to have some sort of a degree to be in healthcare. There's very few positions that you don't have to have some sort of a degree. Hopefully you're able to start seeing how these pieces go together. If you're going to increase the likelihood of you becoming a millionaire, then you are going to want to have a certain education. You're going to want to be in certain industries. Now, does that mean you have to be in those industries? Of course not. You don't have to be. Mathematically, I can simply show you all the time how saving 10 to 20% of your salary over a period of 10 to 20, 30 years, you will achieve millionaire status. And when we talk about the average age of a millionaire, it proves that number out. What do you think is the average age of a millionaire? Do you think someone will be in their 30s? Or do you think they'll be in their 40s? How about their 50s or 60s? Well, if you guessed 59, then you're right on the number. So really, if you said your 50s or 60s, you're going to be fine. As you get close to retirement, the majority of people will have achieved $1 million status, and that is in most professions. If you are able to save 20% of your salary over the life of your career, I can almost guarantee that you will become a millionaire. Obviously, I cannot guarantee it because things happen. But if you just look at the numbers and the way things have historically performed, it doesn't matter what industry you are in. If you are willing to invest in your future, then you can afford to purchase it. And the way I often refer to it to you guys is purchasing your freedom. What do you want to do to purchase your freedom? When we say financial freedom, like, why do we say that? We say it because right now you're in a rat race of trading your time for money, but what can you do to purchase your freedom so that you can then spend your time exactly how you want to, doing the things you want to with the people that you care about and the things that you love? And if you see the average woman to achieve $1 million for retirement, that is 58 and a half. The average man to achieve $1 million set aside for retirement is 59.3. Now, most of you know on average, men make more than women, but why do women achieve $1 million status before men? If you are willing to have the discipline to follow a plan, you can beat the person making all the money in those 5 industries that we just mentioned. And that consistency and discipline also will allow you to outperform all sorts of barriers, whether you want to talk about race or gender, where you're located, family, where maybe you were immigrants and it's not your first language, whatever the situation is. If you're willing to put the discipline and consistency in place, you can outperform all of the hurdles that you would have to, because money isn't as biased. When you put the money in the market, it doesn't really care about your gender, it doesn't care about your race, it doesn't care about your economic background. It just cares that you have the money invested and you keep investing it. As long as you're willing to do that, you will achieve the goal that you have set for yourself. If I asked you, when do you think the wealthiest people achieved their first $1 million, what would you say? The world's 100 richest individuals earned their first $1 million on average by 37. What does that tell you? It tells you two things. One is it tells you that they invested in themselves and their skills, and they're able to leverage that over 20 years. Again, we're not talking about getting rich quick, but over 20 years, if you assume that they started at like 20 and they did it for a couple decades to where they finally are able to see the results. And because they had their first million at 37 and they continued investing it, they were able to compound that money into even more wealth. The mistake that a lot of people make is they think once they hit the $1 million that they're done. But the truth is, if you have $1 million and you're still investing, now we're talking about having tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and you start getting into the category of the richest 100 individuals. The richest people had the money early and then they invested it and it's still compounded. Even if you're not rich, but you put the money in and it compounds, you will still achieve the results that you're looking for. Oftentimes, the reason the majority of people are unable to escape the rat race is because they're not consistently investing in their future. You have to consistently invest in your future to give yourself the ability to compound that money to purchase your freedom, to where you actually have a lifestyle that's completely funded without your time, which is the goal that I have for all of my clients. And it's usually the goal that they have for themselves. So with the majority of our millionaires achieving that status in the late 50s, to no surprise, that would put you in the baby boomers generation. So in 2013, the number said about 40% of baby boomers have achieved millionaire status, which is the largest percentage of any generation. So the next closest is millennials, where I'm at, and about 20% of millennials are millionaires, so about 1 in 5. But you have almost a 50% chance of a baby boomer having $1 million. Now, did they do something different? Did they not have to deal with recessions? Well, no, they had to deal with the Great Recession of 2008. They had to deal with 9/11 in 2001, the dot-com bubble of 99. They had lots of issues that they dealt with, but if they were consistent in their process, they will outperform over the long term. And so that's what they did. And that's why you see the majority of millionaires are baby boomers. That even though we make it look online like everybody is a millionaire, that it's just effortless. Where if you look on YouTube or Instagram or anywhere on social media, they just make it seem like there's a new millionaire every other day. And it's their process and their online course that's going to get you the numbers. But when you look at the data, which is where we're at, we're looking at the data. We're not sitting here blowing smoke. We're looking at the numbers. The numbers say the average millionaire is 59. The numbers say that the average millionaire invested over a long term. The numbers even show that the wealthiest people invested over the long term. They just invested more money over the long term. The idea that there's just this wave of people who have millions of dollars and you're younger, while it is true that there's more millionaires created every single year, and it's more likely that you can create a millionaire status through entrepreneurship, it's unlikely for most of us that we have the skill set necessary to achieve it right away. So for most of us, as we go through the school system, we're not being really exposed to entrepreneurial mindsets. We're not being really taught the skills of like sales and different things that you have to be really good at to have a successful business. And so for the few of us, as soon as we make that entrepreneurial shift, often we have to spend a pretty good amount of time building those skill sets. Now it does, as I showed you, where the wealthiest people, where they're able to build that skill set. And by the time they're in their late 30s, they have figured it all out and then they're achieving the results that they want. They hit their first $1 million. It just continues rising from there. But for many people, that journey is just too long for them. Whether they have kids or a lifestyle they have to afford, whether it's just getting your teeth kicked in, learning these things and failing on a regular basis, whatever it is, a lot of people give up. And there was this one story I remember where they were talking about a group of friends that all took Taekwondo and they ended up learning it. And the person who became a black belt was the one who was the worst of them when they all started, but he was the only one that didn't give up. And what he said he learned is to be a black belt, it just shows that you did it for 10 years, we'll say. And the people who gave up before the 10 years, no matter how much skill or talent they had, you couldn't become a black belt any quicker. Now, obviously, you and I can come up with a couple of exceptions, but generally speaking, a black belt just shows someone who has been consistent in their process for 10 years. If you can be consistent in your process for 10 years, you'll love the results. That's true. If YouTubing, when you find people that have these huge channels and you go back and you scroll through the videos, you see that they've been making videos for close to a decade. When you find these businesses that are very successful and they feel like they popped up overnight, you find that that person was honing their craft for a decade. We just didn't see them before that. Professional athletes, same deal. They're honing their craft for a decade. It's very difficult for us to see the results of someone achieving something and to not be able to recognize that they've been honing their craft for a decade. Now, some people will make it seem like they figured it out yesterday and they can teach it to you today. And I appreciate the gusto. Can they provide value? Of course they can provide value. But will they increase the likelihood of you becoming a millionaire? The truth is no. The truth is the majority of people who are selling that type of an option are scamming. The majority of people who invest their money in the next biggest fad end up losing their money. Right. You can see that time in the market is very difficult. Options trading, very difficult. The crypto and Bitcoin, very difficult. Those people, they come, they go, but the majority of them are losing their money. The numbers pan that out. I think it said like 95% of people who invest in options lose their money. 95% of people. And so you're telling me that a whole bunch of that 5% not only figured it out, they're willing to tell you for like $10. Come on. Right? Come on. Interesting enough, this video is actually getting a little long, so I'm probably going to actually break this up into two categories because I still have to go over the trends for the future, which is going to help you get in front of the next wave. And then I also have to go over the locations of the millionaires so that you know the likelihood. So if you found value in this video, I simply ask you to like and subscribe so you can continue receiving valuable information on how to unlock generational wealth through strategic retirement planning. Until next time, continue blessings.